Yo, you guys, this is Blacklist of the Abyss, and you're watching my review for the Irregular at Magic High School, aka Mahou Gakoku no Rotose, Episode 8. Alright, and before I get into the actual episode here, I want to talk about a scene that happens in the beginning of this arc that's skipped over. Uh, Tatsuya, on Saturday or something, he gets called into the faculty offices at First High. Alright, so getting called to the teachers' offices and the principal's offices, that's not a good sign. Alright, so Tatsuya gets called in there. And when you read the light novels, you're automatically thinking, okay, what's going on here? It turns out that the school recently had exams, um, and I guess not really finals because the year just started. Like, I don't know, some type of exams, but they had some exams, and the teachers brought in Tatsuya, right? Now, normally in this situation, when it comes to exams, you would think that teachers are bringing you in because they think that you cheated. Not Tatsuya, all right? These teachers brought Tatsuya in because they thought he purposely failed. All right? They thought he purposely failed. All right? Not the written portion, because there are two portions. There's the written portion that involves magic theory and intelligence, and there's the technical skills portion, which involves actual magic skills. All right, and he aced the intellectual portion, the written portion, magic theory. He aced that. When it came to technical skills portion, he bombed. All right, he barely passed. All right, so good. People think Tatsuya is so OP, and he is strong, but they forget that there are actually things that he's really bad at too. All right, he's really not that good at magic. He's really not. All right, and he bombed the technical skills portion of the test. So they brought him in thinking, he's so smart, he's so strong, so how can he fail this badly? So they brought him in thinking, did you fail on purpose? Like, well, why are you doing this? This doesn't make sense. All right. So they ended up letting him go because let's be honest, it just doesn't make sense to want to fail on purpose. So I mean, they asked him anyway, but they ended up letting him leave, and he ended up leaving, and the whole group was there. Um, Miyuki wasn't there because she was dealing with the 9 schools competition with the student council. But Erika was there, Leo, Mizuki, Honoka, Shizuku. They skipped every scene that Honoka and Shizuku were in. It's annoying. If you are an anime only viewer, you probably think that Honoka and Shizuku were just like random side characters like Murasaki. But they're not. They're actually part of the main group. they're literally with Tatsuya, Miyuki, Erika, Leo, and Mizuki all the time. Like, not all the time, but pretty much. Like, they're literally part of the main group. But if you're an anime only viewer, you wouldn't know that because they skip all the freaking scenes that those two are in. It's so disappointing and annoying. Alright, but whatever. In case you guys are curious, I'll give you what the actual rankings were for the exams. When it comes to overall scores for the first tiers, number 1 was Miyuki, no surprise there. Number 2 was Honoka. Number 3 was Shizuku. And number 4 was this guy named Tonitsuka. Alright, so he doesn't show up until the Double 7 arc. Or no, does he show up in the 9 schools competition? I don't remember. Oh, well, whatever. The point is he'll show up eventually and you'll meet him. Right, but those are the overall top scorers for the exams overall. Right, but when you break the 2 sections up and you look specifically at technical skills and magic theory, when it comes to technical skills, Miyuki again number 1, not surprised. Number 2 was Shizuku. Number 3 was Murasaki. Then number 4 was Honoka. All right. Then when it comes to magic theory, number 1 was Tatsuya. So realize. This entire time, I've only been saying Course 1 students, right? But I'm talking about all the first years, not just Course 1. So it's just that the Course 2 students weren't good enough to make it up that high. But when it comes specifically to the magic theory section, Tatsuya is number 1, Miyuki's number 2, and Mikihiko is number 3, all right? Then Honoka's number 4. So this was legit the first time his name was actually dropped in the series. Right? This was the first time, right? So it wasn't the soccer scene. It was this was the first time that we heard of Mikihiko, right? Now, in case you're curious, in terms of the magic theory section, Shizuka was in 10th place, Mizuki was 17th, and Erika, surprisingly, was 20th. Erika doesn't strike you as like the smart girl type, but apparently she is the freaking 20th smartest person in the entire first year class. Well, not necessarily the smartest, but just good at magic theory. But that's actually kind of surprising. As far as Leo and Murasaki go, they weren't even ranked. They just weren't. I would assume Tomitsuka was, but the light novels didn't mention him other than they didn't mention where he placed when it came to magic theory, but uh, yeah, that's that. Then after that, there was a scene where everyone was just talking. They were talking about the nine schools competition, and you really got a feel for the type of characters Honoka and Shizuku were. Which again, it's a shame that they're skipping every scene that they're in, but oh well. All right. There was another scene they skipped after this. They're skipping they skipped they skipped a decent part of the first chapter in this arc. But there's a scene of Mari and Tatsuya talking about the different events that happened in the Nine Schools competition. We already know about Mirage Bat and Icicle Destruction. Or they call it something different. They call it Ice Pillar Break here. But what it was mentioned here in this chapter was Icicle Destruction. They might have changed the translation in a later chapter, in a later volume, but whatever. Not a big deal. We already know about those events, though. That's the point. But there are other events, too, like 6 or 7 or something like that. And they were talking about all of that, but they have to introduce the events at some point in time, so I'm assuming they're going to get back to that scene later. Right? So I won't talk about that or anything else Nine Schools competition related unless it's happened in the episode. Like, for instance, Miyuki training at Yakumo's temple for Mirage Bat and Ice Pillar's Break. Alright? And while she was taking a break, but while she was training, Haruka ends up showing up. But now we're actually getting into the episode. If you can't tell, I'm kind of speaking quickly because I want to finish this review in not 40 minutes. I want to make it shorter than that, which probably isn't going to happen, but I can at least try. Haruka ends up showing up to Yakumo's temple, and Tatsuya sees her, or he senses her, I guess, and then he turns around, and then you see you can see he's looking, and if you zoom in and you look, well, they zoomed in for you, but if you look at his eye, you can actually see Haruka's reflection in his eye with this red background or red outline. All right, so the guy's got a Sharingan or something like that. Yakumo in the light novels, well, in the anime in this episode, Yakumo says if you want to fool him, you have to you have to disguise your appearance, your presence, and not extinguish it. Right? But in the light novels, he said Tatsuya has a special pair of eyes. So because of that, in order to fool him, you'll have to disguise your presence, not extinguish it. So what he means by that will be revealed later. Is he talking about his ability to just look into the information dimension like he did against Blanche? I don't remember. Tatsuya is so irregular that it's just hard to remember some of the stuff because he's so different from everyone else. It's kind of hard to remember what he can do. But yeah, Haruka ends up coming out, and we learn that she is a BS magician. Okay, and contrary to what you may believe, what that actually stands for is born specialized. Okay, what that means is that if you're born specialized, you excel in a particular ability. But because you excel in that particular ability, you pretty much suck at everything else, right? And that ability that they do excel in, no one is going to be able to be as skilled as you in that area, unless they're another BS magician. So you can take Miyuki and Mari and Mayumi and Katsuto and Kirihara and Masaki and Hattori, everyone. You can take all the good people you know and then just fuse them all together, and even then they still wouldn't be as good as Haruka is in her particular area of expertise because she's a BS magician. All right. So that's that. We also learned that she is a public safety investigator for the police, which is a job she got after she started working at First High. So it's not like she got the job at First High specifically because of that job, specifically because of her being a public safety investigator and wanting to investigate something at First High. Right. So that's that. And she ends up asking Tatsuya not to tell anyone about her identity as a public safety investigator because it's secret. She's essentially a secret agent. So it's important to not have anyone know about you if you're a secret agent, duh, obviously. But Tatsuya decides, you know what? How about this? I'll keep your secret, but only if you give me information if another situation like the Blanche one pops up. So he Edge might be the ultimate opportunist, but Tatsuya is definitely close. He's definitely close to him in that regard because he's very opportunistic here. He takes advantage of Yakumo's desire to tell secrets, and he kind of forces Haruka to join his information network. So there's that. Now the next day is when we actually meet Mikihiko for the first time. They're essentially in like gym class or something like that, all right? And we see Mikihiko. He's pretty cool. He's pretty cool. He's pretty legit. Playing soccer and stuff. He bent it like Beckham, all right? And he's a childhood friend of Erica. He comes from the Yoshida family, and they didn't say this, but the Yoshida family specializes in spirit magic, which may or may not sound cool. All you need to know is that there are different types of spirit magic. Isn't probably what you think it is, especially since, you know, if you look at the opening, you can see him like calling lightning to like destroy a bunch of people. So, yeah. So I don't know. It's probably not what you think it is. It's not like summoning spirits from the grave and having ghosts attack people and stuff like that. It's like it's not as straightforward as that. But yeah, this was the introduction of Mikihiko. So now with him, the Justice League is complete. All right, the Justice League is complete. We've got Tatsuya, Miyuki, Erika, Leo, Mizuki, Honoka, Shizuku, and Mikihiko. That's your main group right there. That is your Justice League. All right. So, yeah. So look forward to him because he's actually kind of awesome. They didn't get into his past. They didn't get into his past yet in this episode because this is where it happened in the light novels. But I don't want to get into that right now because they will probably bring it up later because it's kind of something they can't skip, or else it renders something that happens later on in the arc completely pointless. Well, not completely pointless, but it doesn't make it as good. So they're going to have to bring it up at some point, therefore I just won't talk about it now. But after that, there was... there was a funny scene with Erica and Bloomers, and Leo was amazing here. Leo was amazing. He was talking about how like our blue, because you got to realize they're in the year like 2095 or something like that. So they're looking at Bloomers and be like, what are these things? Like no one wears these anymore. And when Leo's like, wait, are the Bloomers, are those back from an age where morals were in tatters, and are Bloomers what schoolgirls would sell to middle-aged guys for money? And Erica just gets mad at him and kicks him in the shin. All right, because she's like, exactly what are you saying about my character right now? All right, so that was funny. And there was another scene after that they skipped that was really funny too. It was specifically involving Mikihiko, or Miki, as Erica calls him. It involved him, Tatsuya, and Leo. All right, and Mikihiko was talking about Tatsuya's lack of a reaction to Erica and Bloomers. And Leo was saying how, like, oh, well, you know, he's got Miyuki, so he's kind of been desensitized to that kind of stuff. He's just used to seeing beauty all the time. Right? All right, then Mikihiko started talking about how surprised he was when he saw how beautiful Miyuki was at the enrollment ceremony. Right? Then Leo starts to mess with him and say, like, oh, Tatsuya, you better watch out. Mikihiko's got an eye on your sister. And then Mikihiko's like, no, you're reading things the wrong way. I'm not really into her like that. All right. So then Leo starts to mess with Tatsuya and say, like, well, you know, I can understand that. After all, you've got a hardcore brocon and an invincible ciscon. So clearly that bar is set way too high. And then Tatsuya told him, you know, Leo, I think it's time we have a little talk. I think we need to have a little conversation. And Leo's like, oh, well, hold on. All right, I don't want to risk my life over something like this. That's too terrifying. All right, so that was a funny scene. Um, but yeah, that's that. Like I said, they're probably going to bring up Yukihiko's backstory later. Um, but until then, I guess I'll talk next about Miami, the student council in general. They were talking about the night schools competition and how they need engineers. They have all the competitors figured out already. Again, they talked about the rules earlier, but they can't do the arc without explaining the rules. So again, there's no need to talk about it now because they literally have to bring it up later. So yeah, but the one thing they're in real need for are engineers. They need technical staff in order to do CAD, to do CAD maintenance so that they can be good enough to actually win. Because they didn't mention it, but that First Tie has actually won 2 years in a row, which should not be that much of a surprise since they have a Saikusa, a Jumonji, plus they have Mari, who, while she isn't part of the Ten Master Clans, is still around the same level as those two, which is incredibly impressive. So they've been dominating so far, and they've won 2 years in a row, and they want to three-peat so that they can kind of cement their legacy as being this awesome class. Um, but in order to ensure that, they need engineers to make sure that their CAD are maintenanced or maintained. Maintenance is not a word. So that their CAD are maintained, and that way they can win. And they were talking about Asusa here. We got a name drop for Isori, or Isuri, or however you want to pronounce it. And it's funny because this whole time, because we know that Tatsu is an engineer. We got that scene a couple episodes ago where he was maintaining and doing adjustments on Miyuki's CAD. All right, so we know he's an engineer. But like, so it was funny because they're talking about like, oh man, we need an engineer. We need more engineers. Why can't we find good engineers? Susan, how about you? Could you do it? No, I'm not that guy. I'm smart, but I'm not like good when it comes to actual engineering stuff. At least not in that regard when it comes to CAD. Right, so they're trying so hard to find an engineer when one is literally sitting right across the table from them, and they didn't even notice until he got up to leave. Asusa had to say, "Wait, doesn't Shiba-kun fit that bill perfectly?" Then Miami just stares at him for a couple seconds, and then finally she gets his brain blast. Like, you're right, you're right. He can be on the team. Right? Of course, Tatsuya tries to get out of it, like he does all the time. Too much work for him. He doesn't feel like standing out. Right? But Miyuki ends up agreeing with them. And once Miyuki agrees with them, then he caves because he can't say no to Miyuki unless it's something completely outrageous. Right? So, yeah. He ends up joining the team later on the episode. Now after that, they ended up talking about both Taurus Silver and Flying type magic. I don't want to get too much into Taurus Silver because I might say something I don't mean to say and I might accidentally spoil something. So I'm just not going to talk that much about it. I'm sure there are a decent number of people who have one or two theories about this, but I just don't feel like talking about it because I can tell you right now, it's not what you think. You're not 100% right, but you're not 100% wrong either. So I just don't feel like talking about it because I don't want to spoil more than I already have, seeing as though I just said I wasn't going to talk about it, yet I am anyway. So yeah, let me just stop talking about it right then and there. But yeah, after that they end up talking about flying type magic, all right, which I mentioned this a couple weeks ago, but that's one of the three great puzzles of modern magic, or whatever the official title is, just like the thermonuclear reactor that Tatsuya wants to build. And I don't really need to go into details about flying type magic. All you really need to know about it is that it can't be done. It's impossible. Yet Tatsuya manages to do it anyway. That's all you really need to know. Dude's smart. He's a genius, all right? So if you don't get it, then it's really not that big of a deal at all. It's really not. I could talk about it a little bit though. I didn't really like study it or anything, but from what I can remember, it involves you can't magic is not so simple that you can just use a spell to fly and then you fly. In this series is incredibly logical, and it's like when you do magic, it's you essentially have to give instructions to the CAD in order to have the magic activate. Right? So you can't just say, like, imagine you want to do magic for making a peanut butter jelly sandwich, right? You can't just do a spell that lets you make a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. You have to give the instruction. All right, first you have to walk over to the counter, then you have to take out the bread, then you have to place it on the counter, then you have to go over to the refrigerator, then you have to open it, then you have to take the peanut butter. It's not so simple as fly. You actually have to give instructions, and when it comes to those instructions, it's multiple magic sequences and activation sequences. And when you activate different layers of spells, there's interference, right? Every spell has interference, all right? And if your interference strength is stronger than someone else's, then you can interfere with their magic with your spell, and your spell will activate while theirs won't. But when you're activating multiple layers of spells, you are interfering with yourself, okay? And once you get to a certain point, I think the number was like 10 layers or so, you've interfered with your magic so much that now you just can't do another spell anymore. You've interfered with yourself to the point where you can't use magic anymore. All right, you've defeated yourself essentially. All right, so then you'd be in the air and then you just fall because you can't use magic. You can't use any more magic because you've interfered with yourself mentally. I mean, with like the interference strength and just all that. Um, so it's just impossible to do flying type magic because of that. However, like I said, like you see at the end of the episode, Tatsuya finds a way. And again, how he does it is just not important. Like they put in a lot of details just because you have to. You can't just say, "Oh, he did it. He found a way," and that's it. You have to explain. But the details really aren't that important. You just need to know that. All you need to know is that it's not bull. It's not a load of crap. He actually did figure out a way to do it. That's the only reason the details were there. The details, you don't really need to focus on them. All you need to know is that it's possible to fly now. That's all you need. Um, Now, after all this stuff in the student council room, all right, we end up seeing where Tatsuya is legitimately nominated to be on the technical staff team, whatever it's called. All right, but the prejudice ends up coming back. I mean, well, it never really left in the first place because like last week we had the freaking Blanche guys all over the place. The prejudice has never really left. All right, but even so, it's back. Even so, it's back. We see a bunch of people here. Like for instance, we saw Isori, we saw Canon. I'm not calling her Kanon. That just sounds silly coming from coming from someone who speaks English. It just sounds silly. Kanon. If you're in Japan, it sounds better because you're speaking your accent is just saying all the other words like that as well. But then just don't. I'm just calling her Canon. All right, that's it. I'm calling her Canon. We saw those two. We saw Amy. Not spelled A-M-Y, spelled E-I-M-I. She makes a big deal about that. That's the way it's spelled and pronounced. Instead of Amy, it's Amy. It's who cares? Who cares? Not a big deal. I think we might have saw that one girl who was Chiaki's sister, Chiaki's older sister, Chiaki, the girl from the Yokohama disturbance arc, who got involved there. She's the girl who gets messed up. That's the best way to say it. She's the girl who gets messed up in the 9 schools competition. Again, anime-only viewers have no clue who I'm talking about, but don't worry, you'll find out eventually. You'll see in like 10 episodes or so, I guess. I don't really know how long it's going to be, but eventually, oh, geez, 25 minutes. I knew this would take forever, as usual, but whatever. You see Honoka and Shizuku there as well. So finally, they stopped getting screwed. They had to show them eventually because they have roles in this arc that can't be skipped over. So they had to do it eventually. It's just now is the time. Now they just can't hold back anymore. They just can't screw them over anymore now. It's impossible. But yeah. Some of the other people there are saying, he's a course 2 student. He can't be on the team. Blah 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 blah. All right, and they decide to test him using Kirihara. At first, Katsuto volunteered, then Mayumi did, then Kirihara was like, no, I'll do it. Right? He's already beaten me up once. Him hurting me again is not going to be that big of a deal. Right? He already broke my freaking collarbone. Right? But luckily, nothing like that happens because he succeeds. He does some impressive stuff manually, um, and he gets added onto to the team after an endorsement from not only Asusa but Hattori as well. Hattori. Hattori was the big reason why he got nominated. Because Asusa endorsed him, but everyone was still saying, nah, I don't think he's worth it. But then Hattori, of all people, Hattori endorsed him, and they're like, all right, fine. And then Katsuto came in after that, and other people, so that was that. So Tatsuya's on the team now. Hattori, he's changed. He's changed. He got his butt kicked by Tatsuya, and he wants to keep his pride intact, so he doesn't really acknowledge Tatsuya publicly, like befriend him and stuff like that. But he does have newfound respect for Tatsuya now, so that's good. He's growing. All right. So he succeeds. He's on the team, and after that, he ends up going to he's at his house, and he ends up talking in this video call with the Major. I'm sure you can figure out who that is, but just in case, I won't say anything. And the Major refers to him as Special Officer. All right, Special Officer. So from that, you can assume, well, he's being called at his house by a freaking Major, so obviously, yeah. But from the, it should be clear now that Tatsuya is involved with the military in some way, shape, or form. All right, and Kazuma talks to him about how work was completed on the third eye, and you see this picture of like some rifle or some type of gun, some type of armed weapon, you know. So you can assume that the third eye is that. You could probably assume that it's a CAD as well. I mean, Tatsuya already has guns that are CAD, so him having that, it just makes sense to assume it's a CAD. And lastly, he gets talked to about this group called No Head Dragon, who is like this international terrorist group, and they are in the area of the 9 schools competition. So they have to, he has to look out for them because they will get involved in the 9 schools competition. I mean, it should be obvious, you know. Their names are getting dropped here for a reason, you know. So it should be obvious that they're going to get involved in some way, shape, or form. They're also one of the reasons why Tatsuya has one of the most epic scenes ever. People like to say that Tatsuya is emotionless and all this crap, but you will see in that scene that Tatsuya does have emotion. He does. I can't wait, yo. I can't wait to see that. He's going to be so pissed. Oh man, I can't wait. But whatever, you guys will see it for yourselves. Um, but yeah. Oh, one last thing. Tatsuya says he has to go work. He has to go to FLT at some point, like the next day or two. So he's scheduled to arrive there for something. So probably for the flying type magic, which he like I mentioned before, he finished at the end of the episode. And Miyuki, one line that you might want to look out for. Miyuki said here, "Once again, brother, you've made the impossible possible." So this is not the first time he's done something impressive when it comes to his mind. So yeah, again, I'm not going to say anything about it because again, I know what she's talking about, so I don't want to like spoil. So I'll just leave that there and let you guys try and figure that out. But that's it for this episode. Oh, Jesus Christ, 29 minutes. I haven't even done the reaction yet. Jesus Christ. Oh, man. Let me just end the video here. I'll give this episode a 7 out of 10. That's mostly because of the stuff with the flying type magic, the stuff with Taurus Silver, and the introduction of Mikihiko, along with the conversation with Major, and the reveal that Tatsuya's in the military. So, actually, no, that was actually a lot. It was kind of a slow episode, but in terms of information, there was actually a lot there. So actually, no, let me give it a 7.5 instead. But yeah, that's that, you guys. I'll add my live reaction after this, and that's that. I couldn't wait 5 more seconds to drink my water. But that's it. That's it, you guys. Rate, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time. So we're already getting this thing from the commercial, the PV. Who is it, Haruka? Oh yeah, oh wow, I was actually right. Mirage Bat. There it is. There it is. He's so proud. Not really. Oh, I guess so, yeah. I guess it is. Oh, here we go. Here we go. It's a BS magician and not what it actually sounds like. It stands for something else. See, they're already putting the commercial stuff in there already. Nice. Nice. Mikihiko. Oh, man. Yo, man. Mikihiko's the man. There's a reason for that, why he doesn't like being called by his last name. He knows Erica. Uh-oh. Oh, okay. Oh, so okay. There you go. Wait, I was like, yeah, yeah. Oh, what it's like to be in the future. That's what she gets for trying to tempt people. He's just staying silent. He just leaves without saying anything. Yeah, they got him anyway. He tried to get out of it. Oh man. And now he's still trying to get out of it. You should know that that excuse isn't going to work on them by now. That's not even fair. That's not even fair. Ryuki going on the attack. I don't even know what to say about this. I mentioned this a few weeks ago. Boom. Yo. He's absorbing all that data in. Like, so that's what Canon looks like. I didn't think her hair would be that color. Yeah, even Hattori's speaking up. Yo. The fact that it's Hattori saying something means a lot. Oh man. I have no clue if they're gonna actually say who he is, so I don't wanna spoil it. Oh, you could probably assume from that the fact that he called him Major. Third eye. Hmm. If it should be obvious who the guy is now. No head dragon. Yeah. Who she thinks she is, Alexa Bliss? Like no one's gonna get that reference. Yo, Yo! 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 Oh man. Yo! Oh my god. He's conquered one of the 3 puzzles. Oh man. He's conquered one of the 3 puzzles. Now he'll probably conquer the second one and then get to his goal. Yo, oh my god, Tatsuya is the man. Dude, man, I swear, he's a freaking genius. I'll just do a freaking ballet in the air. Oh man. The episode was pretty much just build up, but yeah, nothing too exciting yet. But well, for me it was exciting because I I know exactly what it is they're building up, what exactly they're hinting at, and all the things they're pretty much telling you. So, um, but yeah, I like the episode overall, and yeah, that's that's it, you guys. See you guys next time. 信じる